In the fourth day of the hunt, we left behind the scrublands of the desert's eastern arm and into the tall grasses of the northern plains. Our titans hesitated at this border, bellowing their refusal. No goad or hook could encourage them further. Leaving them with the beast handlers, I moved north with the remainder of my force, including a pair of basilisks we captured while crossing the desert. Another day brought us closer to the looming northern mountains, their peaks shrouded by dark clouds and plumes of ash. Where the tall grass thinned, we found spoor and tracks of prodigious size. The apprentices were unnerved, and the basilisks hissed and clawed at their handlers, slashing one's throat. We encamped nearby and let the basilisks feed on the carcasses of the careless man. The tracks continued north to a low rise. We crept forward, and suddenly we heard a great din and sighted a cloud of dust beyond. There I beheld a scene that will remain with me with all my days. A great hydra locked in battle with a beast like a titan, but of a size that would dwarf even the proudest bronzeback. The creature plunged its tusks, each the length of 6 Skorne, laid head to foot through the hydra's armored scales, piercing it repeatedly as the hydra hissed and chewed back, each vicious head striking at a different angle. Both creatures were bathed in blood. Even from hundreds of yards away, we felt the ground shake beneath us as these enormous adversaries tore at one another. The hydra seemed sure to prevail as its flesh quickly mended itself, but the mammoth beast pierced one of its heads with a tusk and tore the throat completely open. The creature then ripped every head of the hydra's body one by one. With a great bellow, it pierced the body one final time before feasting upon its vanquished foe. I watched in awe, knowing the greatest challenge of my life lay ahead. To harness this beast would bring singular honor to House Kurusik and ensure my exaltation.
Mammoth. Skorne gargantuan.
With its appetite for destruction, one might think it could thrive on carnage alone. Domineer Rasheth.
Never truly tamed, mammoths reign as one of the most destructive forces known to the Skorne. Even experienced beast handlers consider their capture among the greatest challenges they can ever confront. Besides raw strength and an ordinary temperament, these immense beasts possess natural weaponry capable of goring to death any wild threat. Armored and armed, these living siege engines can wreak unparalleled destruction to their enemies. The vast valley of Cornache in the northern tour of the Skorne Empire is bordered by foreboding mountains to the north and the blasted deserts to the west. A relatively lush area, it remains largely unexploited by the Skorne because of the tremendous and lethal creatures, including mammoths, that thrive in the uncharted expanses. Although distant cousins to the smaller titans found in the south, mammoths differ from titans in many ways beyond mere size, most obviously the massive armored crests growing from their resilient skulls. Experienced beast handlers conjecture that the two species share a common ancestry, but the mammoth's fiercely aggressive disposition and omnivorous diet indicate a lineage is separate. Small mammoth herds range over territories that overlap with that of the vicious hydra, and the two species clash brutally whenever they encounter each other. It is often difficult to determine which is the predator and which is the prey. Mammoths have been known to the Skorne for more than a dozen generations, but the risks and expense of capturing and housing them have kept them out of the reach of all but the most powerful of houses. Besides the staggering costs to feed them, it is also the price paid in structural damage they inflict and in the slain handlers. Mammoths are almost impossible to breed in captivity, so they must be seized in the wild and transported across hundreds of miles. In order to restrain them, teams of beast handlers add powerful soporifics to their food and insert harnesses of pain hooks and control blades into the drugged hides of the beasts. When these precautions fail, as they often do, mammoths awake prematurely, inevitably to erupt into a frenzy of motion and decimate any nearby. When Ventor Routhorn IV led the army of the western reaches against Signar, he forbade the Skorne from bringing their mammoths along with them, citing the strength of the bridges that traverse the abyss as insufficient to bear their weight. After deposing Ventor, Supreme Archdomina Makeda discovered this to be entirely false. Clearly, the Conqueror had feared that the mammoths among the army might have allowed the Skorne to advance far too quickly into the west and gain an advantage that he was not prepared to allow. Since learning of this deception, Makeda has authorized the Empire's best beast handlers to send mammoths west to join the vanguard of her army. At a direction of Dominar Rashef, House Telar has led the way in heeding Makeda's directive. Retaining the most skilled pain givers and beast handlers available, the House has begun to develop and employ new chemical admixtures and excruciating techniques. Rashef knows better than most the great profit and influence to be held by exploiting these beasts for war. Well worth the risk and cost in securing them. The Skorne have long considered mammoths to be the perfect platforms upon which to haul their great cannons to war. Training mammoths to aim and fire the weapons proves considerably more difficult than with titans, but their size and strength enabled them to carry far larger ordnance than normal, allowing Skorne military engineers to push the limits of possibility. Under the Supreme Archdomina's direction, Empire-funded weaponsmiths invented a multi-barreled, self-reloading mechanism that represents an unparalleled level of sophistication in Skorne armament. Such weapons possess a rate of fire that exceeds the limits of Mammoth's natural coordination. When commanded by a Skorne warlock, however, the beast can lay down earth-shattering fusillades capable of annihilating enemy formations and fortifications. Left to its own inclinations, a mammoth prefers either to close in on the nearest enemy and smash it to bits with its war gauntlets, or to gore nearby foes with its tusks and hurl their broken bodies clean through the air.